enable editing up at the top. The reason for that is because we've downloaded this from the internet, and Microsoft tries to protect us from bugs and viruses and potentially nasty things that could harm our computer. But we trust the source of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. And how did I do that? I zoomed in by holding Control and the wheel on the mouse. Okay, I scrolled with the wheel on the mouse, okay, while holding down Control, and that lets me zoom in or out. All right. Now, guys, what we need to do before we start trying to do different things on our data and getting overwhelmed with our data, let's first get oriented around our spreadsheet. All right. So let's understand what workbook is this. You can see here's the name of the file. It says read only, and it says that it's saved to this PC. By the way, your version of Excel might look slightly different. Yours might be green instead of gray over here. It might be a different version of Excel. It might be slightly older. That's okay. Every so often, Microsoft changes the look and feel and certain aesthetics. It's not really, for the most part, the functionality actually remains the same for the most part. There might be a couple of new features added here and there, but for today's session, it doesn't matter what version of Excel you're on. All right, we're all going to be working on the same techniques. There's going to be a big focus on becoming a keyboard person. And with that in mind, I'm actually going to use a keyboard shortcut to navigate back to that zipped folder. I'm going to press Alt and Tab. Avi will pop that in the chat, and as well as all the other shortcuts that we show you, because it's nice to hear it and to see it on screen, and then also to have a reference of it in the Zoom chat. Okay, I'm going to go down here to the keyboard shortcuts PC document, okay? And I'm going to open it up, and there we go. There's my cheat sheet. Now, guys, we give a physical hard copy of these away when we see people at conferences and when people sign up to our full courses. This is a soft copy. It's a PDF. You're more than welcome to share it with your colleagues and your friends. You're more than welcome to print it out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Windows shortcut to actually go into the full screen, because at the moment this is on the left-hand side. So I'm going to press Windows and the up arrow, so that it maximizes the actual window. So that's Windows and the up arrow. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look here at the menu at the top left. And what you'll see over here is that on the View tab, we've got a couple of options. We can go into read mode or into full screen mode. What I like having these options here, but in this case, we don't really need to see all of them. Adobe does allow you to fill and sign, and you can do a few different things with your PDF. If you sign up, you can edit a PDF. Anyway, we're not interested in that for now. What we do want to do, though, is we want to put this into read mode. And you can see here, it's Control H, or full screen mode is Control L. Okay, so it's just very, very useful to become a keyboard person. So to think like a keyboard person, to say, I am going to learn all the shortcuts. I'm a keyboard person. I'm not a mouse person. Okay, and with that's why I'm showing you these keyboard shortcuts, even in Adobe and in Windows in general. All right, once again, I'm going to hold Control and scroll up or down with the wheel on the mouse. Okay, and that lets me zoom in or out. Okay, so there is my first page of my cheat sheet. And then there's my second page. You'll see on the second page, we've got a whole lot of alphabetical control shortcuts, as well as F key shortcuts. By the way, these F key shortcuts, sometimes depending on your computer, if you're on a small laptop, your settings of your keyboard might be such that you have to hold down the function key, the FN key, somewhere between the Control and the Alt keys on your keyboard, bottom left. Sometimes you have to hold down the FN key and press the F key in order to activate that. That's a keyboard setting. You can change that. We're not going to get sidetracked with that for now, but I just wanted to mention that to you. On the first page, we've got navigation, we've got selection and formatting shortcuts, but we're going to actually start with the end. We're going to go right to the end, and you'll see here that the last shortcut on your cheat sheet is currently hidden by my little controls there, but there you can see it. F12 is to save as. So I'm going to navigate back to where? I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet by holding Alt and Tab. Okay, I'll hold down the Alt key with my left thumb, and then I press Tab. I had to press it twice. And I want to save this as. Why? Because this is currently open from my zipped folder, and I don't want to work in my zipped folder, and I want to be in good habits. All right, habits are crucial. We need to get ourselves into good habits. So what we want to do is we want to save as, and instead of Control S, a lot of people know the Control S keyboard shortcut. We're not going to use that one. We're going to use F12. So you might have to press Function and F12, as I said, or you just press F12. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Home. That takes me home to the beginning of this text. I'm going to take out copy of. Okay, how do I do that quickly? I can press Control Shift and right arrow. Okay, and then I press the delete key, and then I go to the end because I don't want to save it with the words copy of. And at the end, I'm going to put DS. Okay, and those are my initials so that I know and everyone else will know that this is in fact the version that I'm working on. But very importantly, you'll see the location here, guys. Now, this is very good practice to always be aware of where you are saving your files. I've seen desktop screens where it's like you can barely see the background of the desktop because you've got files everywhere. So we want to avoid that. That's like having an actual desk, a physical desk, which is so cluttered with documents that you can't even find your way around. So we want to be organized. Things must be saved into folders, and things must be ideally backed up in the cloud on Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive, for example. What you'll see is that I made a subfolder over here, a shortcut to this subfolder for today's session, monthly masterclass with today's date. How did I do that? I actually right-clicked and said, pin the folder to quick access toolbar, just like this. If you right click on anything, you can always say pin to quick access toolbar. So this is in the Excel Academy Dropbox folder, meaning that Avi will have access to it. So it will synchronize with Avi the whole time. And that's exactly what I want. All right, so I'm going to go into, okay, I'm not going to go into downloads. I'll just save it here in this folder, and it's got DS, and I click save. Happy day. So it's important to get that admin out of the way early, and then to be in that habit of constantly saving our work. All right, so we want to press Control S at regular intervals, especially if we do something quite significant or important on our actual data or our work. Okay, so we always want to make sure that we remember to save. Now, guys, before diving into this data, it's always a good idea before a big race to do what? To do a warm-up. All right. So before we dive into this data, it's a good idea to do a warm-up in order to create a new sheet tab. And by the way, speaking of sheet tabs, I see I've got sheet 1 and I've also got sheet 2. Okay, sheet 2 has some survey feedback which we can analyze with some AI functionality. What we found is that there is built-in AI functionality in Excel, but a tool like ChatGPT is actually, what we've seen, so much more powerful. So instead of actually analyzing it with Excel or a plugin into Excel, it's probably a better idea to actually put that survey feedback into ChatGPT to analyze. But let's leave that for now. For now, let's stay focused on our data over here. I'm going to call this data. I double click on the sheet tab and I call it data. This one I can double click and I can call it survey. So it's a good idea to always label your sheet tabs. All right, and what we want to do is we want to insert a new sheet tab. I know I can click on this plus button to create or insert a new sheet, but I can also press Shift and F11. Okay, for you, it might be Shift Function F11, remember, with those F keys. And what that's done is it's created a new sheet, and I'm going to call it warm-up. All right, now, guys, a great place to start is to start to create some data. So let's enter some data. How do we do this? What do we want to do? I want a list from 1 to 25. A list from 1 to 25, and I'm giving you 10 seconds to do that. Please, will you do that now on your Excel, starting in 3, 2, 1, start. 10 seconds. Okay, guys, your time is up. Did you manage to do a list from 1 to 20? You can let us know in the chat. And by the way, guys, we would love to hear from you. There are 50 of you in this call, 50 of us in total. So we'd love to hear from you either in the chat, or what you can do if you want is you can actually react. So we've activated reactions. So you can give hearts, you can give thumbs up, you can give all different emojis. So have a look there, and we'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed something, if you like a certain shortcut or a certain technique, give us a thumbs up or a smile or something just to let us know that you are in fact there, you are awake and alert. Okay, so guys, who can tell me, how did you manage to do a list from 1 to 25? Okay, guys, drop us a line in the chat. I'd love to know if you were able to do it and how you did it. Okay, guys, any volunteers from the chat? Okay, Christelle, excellent. Inserted 1, copy down and select full series. Okay, well done. So what I'm thinking, okay, and Chloe said no idea how to do it. Okay, we're going to show you. So what Christelle said is that she inserted 1 and then she copied it down and selected full series. So if I'm understanding her correctly, she's saying she entered the number 1 and then she dragged down on the bottom right-hand corner and then she selected from here full series. Okay, excellent. Well done, Christelle. Chloe, I hope that that's a big eye-opener. You can give us a reaction or you can let us know in the chat if you enjoyed that. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to undo that because I want to show you another way to do it. It might save you a little bit of time. A lot of people know this technique, which is to type in 1 and 2, and then Excel will know the series automatically. And as you drag down, you can see it actually is giving us a preview of what the number is in that particular cell. So there we go. We've got a list from 1 to 25. And once again, we've got these autofill options. So we can either copy cells, okay, which will be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, or full series or full formatting only, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Any idea? And Laika, okay, you did 1 and 2 and dragged down. Well done. What other series or patterns or sequences are there that we can use using this full handle? Okay, using the same technique. Is it only numbers like 1, 2, 3? Okay. What else is it? Okay, I'm putting this over here so I don't have to keep looking at that screen over there. Okay, Laika, you've asked for us to re-show the series. Guys, is there any other pattern that you can think of? Any other pattern that you can think of for this technique? Okay, what about dates? Okay, guys, what about dates? What is today's date? It's the 15th of August, right in the middle of the month, 15th of August. How do we type that into Excel? We can type 15 AUG. Okay, we can undo that, Control Z, and Nosifiso, thank you for that. You've said date and days of the week. That's 100% correct. Okay, instead of typing it in manually, what we can do is we can use a keyboard shortcut, and that keyboard shortcut is Control and semicolon, which is right next to the letter L on your keyboard. So Control semicolon, it punches in today's date for us so that we don't have to try to remember it. We don't have to make typos. And as you can see there, thanks to Abby, we've got it there, Control and semicolon to insert today's date. And what we can do as well, and Christelle, I also think it's cool, so thanks for that. We can go to the bottom right-hand corner and we can actually double click. We can drag or we can just simply double click. All right. Okay. Chloe, by the way, if you enter the number 1 and then you double click or you drag down, it will give you 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Correct. What you can do then is you click on this little autofill options and you say full series. All right, guys, how did it know to go all the way down to the bottom when I double clicked on the date? When I double click there, how did it snap it down exactly to the correct length? It sees how far the list goes on the left-hand side and it matches the length. It doesn't look at what's in the cells. It just looks at if there is data. Nosifiso said days of the week, spot on. And we can either write the full name, a full day of the week, Thursday, or we can just write the first 3 letters, THU. And I'm going to double click on the bottom right-hand corner. And there we go. We've got days of the week all the way down. So Excel is smart. It identifies the pattern and we can try A, B, C, but unfortunately it doesn't have this pattern built in. So what it does instead is it goes A, B, A, B, A, B. All right. I'm going to undo that and undo that with Control Z. Control Z is a great keyboard shortcut. Speaking of undo, Control Z, you might have it on your quick access toolbar on the top left-hand side of your Excel screen. And it's in the form of a backward pointing or like a curved arrow so that you're going back, you're undoing. I've removed mine from my quick access toolbar because I prefer to just use Control Z. I don't actually need it there on the quick access toolbar. I don't need to click it. I just press Control Z. And what I've done is I have customized my quick access toolbar. Firstly, I moved it from above the ribbon to below the ribbon. And you can always right click and just say show it above the ribbon or show it below the ribbon. So you just right click on the toolbar and you say show above or show below. And I find that below is better because it shows me the icon as well as the name of that feature. Okay, so these are features that I use quite often and frequently. So you can see, for example, I can view grid lines. I can untick that or I can tick that. So a lot of people think you have to select all of this and then paint it in white like this. Okay, you don't have to do that. That's not a good idea. It's not a good habit to be in. We rather view or unview the grid lines. And that is actually a button which is on the View tab. Okay, in case your formula bar ever disappears. Dan, Avi, I've lost my formula bar. What do I do? It's because you've unticked this on the View tab formula bar. If you lose your headings, your A, B, C, and your 1, 2, 3, it's because you've unticked that. If you lose your grid lines, it's because you've unticked that. Okay. All right, guys, so this has been a pretty good warm-up. The last one I want to do quickly is to show you that we can do months as well. I can type in AUG for August. I can double-click down, and you'll see it goes month by month by month. All right, and I might not want that. I might actually want August until there. Okay, so what do? I click and I drag down to there, and I actually say copy cells. And then from there, it's going to be September. Spring Day is around the corner, and I can drag down or double-click and then say, again, copy cells. All right. Okay, so it's very, very important to understand and appreciate this functionality. If you ever lose this autofills option over there, it's because you've been busy with other things in your spreadsheet and you've lost it, you've been editing, and your autofill options button goes away. That means that you just need to redo the series. So you need to re-drag it, and then that thing will pop up again. Also, just to let you know, speaking of redoing it, I can go to today's date, I can double click down, and it snaps it all the way down. It gives me this option, and it actually gives me a few more extra options because it identifies these cells or these values as dates. So because they are dates, I can fill weekdays only. In other words, skip over the weekends, and you might like that because if you're doing something business related and your business is closed on the weekend, you only want to show the actual weekdays. All right, or you might want months. You might want to see the 15th of every month, or the 15th of August every year. Okay, so you've got that flexibility, which is great. All right, guys, I'm going to save my work, Control S, and I'm going to navigate quickly back. Before I actually navigate back to the data tab, I want to show you an important keyboard shortcut, which is to navigate around your data. So have a look. We've got 25 lines of data, 4 columns, so we've got 100 cells, and we can quickly bounce between the top and the bottom and the left and the right. We do that using what we call the teleporter key. It's Control and the different arrow keys to teleport around our data. Let's have a look at our cheat sheet, and it's our very first keyboard shortcut on our cheat sheet. You can see there it's Control and the different arrow keys to move to the start or end of the data region. So if you're hovering around no man's land on the right-hand side, you want to jump into your data, you press Control left arrow, and you are now inside the data. Okay, if you want to select some data, you can press Shift and the different arrow keys. Okay, so Shift and the arrow keys is for selecting data. So play around with that. Control and the arrow keys to jump, Shift and the arrow keys to select, and Control and Shift and an arrow key to jump and select. Okay, so guys, once again, this is on your cheat sheet. There you have it, Shift and the arrow keys, and then Control, Shift and the arrow keys to extend your selection all the way to the end. So it's to teleport and select. Okay, very useful stuff indeed. And on the subject of selecting, we can select all our data using Control A. All right, so we can select all the data that we've got using Control A. If we stand in the middle of nowhere and we press Control A, then it selects the entire spreadsheet, absolutely every cell in the entire spreadsheet. Okay, and that would be the same as clicking on the little triangle between A and 1. Paula, thank you for joining us. Avi will send the cheat sheet to you, and we are recording the session as well. And the actual Excel file is available as well in that zipped folder, so download it now. All right, guys, to navigate between the different sheet tabs, I can click on the different tabs. I can also use Control Page Down or Control Page Up, and that allows me to seamlessly glide between the different sheet tabs. control page up, control page down. Notice that on your computer, you might be using a small laptop and you might need to press control function and page up or page down, depending on where that page up or page down key is. So you'll see on my keyboard over here, I've got page up and page down as their own keys. But on some keyboards, particularly on smaller laptops, they share a key with these arrow keys. So in that case, you need to press control and function and page up or page down. All right, guys, now let's try to understand a little bit more about the data that we see in front of us. All right. What are we looking at? What data is this? Okay. Who can tell me in the chat how much data there is? How many lines of data? How many rows of data are there? I want you to have a look. You can use, the clue is you can use a keyboard shortcut, which we just showed you in the last couple of minutes, and use a keyboard shortcut to find out how many lines of data are there in the spreadsheet. Okay, I'm going to wait for somebody to tell me in the chat. All right. Thank you, Valencia. Thank you, Laika. And thank you, Chloe. 14839. You used control and the down arrow to work that out. Well done. Okay. We believe in immediate implementation. Implement what you're learning immediately. If we show you a keyboard shortcut, start using it immediately. All right. That'll start to rewire your neurotransmitters in your brain and get you into those new habits. Who can tell me, by the way, how many lines are there in Excel in total? Okay, Michael, you're spot on. You excluded the heading row. So there are 14,838 rows of actual data if you exclude the headers. How many rows are there in Excel in total in a spreadsheet? Okay, how are we going to work that out? We're going to use the same keyboard shortcut. Control and the down arrow. You can see there's a lot of space in Excel. People say Excel real estate is free. Okay, open up Excel and you've got over 1 million lines of data. Well done, Michael. 1,048,576. If I want to teleport quickly to cell A1, how do I get to cell A1 very, very, very quickly with one keyboard shortcut? Any ideas? How do I go home? I press. Okay, with one quick keyboard shortcut, I go to the very start of my document, which is cell A1, and it's control home. And you can use that keyboard shortcut even in an email or in a Word document. You want to quickly navigate back to the beginning of the document, you say control home. Okay, Laika, good guess. You tried the home key. You need to press control and home. So control and home will navigate you home to cell A1. The opposite of it is control end, and that takes you to the last cell that you've used, which is J14839. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of data and we want to clean up the data. We want to format it. We want to manipulate the data. We want to analyze it. We want to sort and filter. We want to slice and dice. We want to understand what's actually going on in our data. At a glance, before we do anything to our actual data, we can see that we've got people, first name, last name. We've got their contact numbers. We've got a progress column and a course column over here. Okay, and then we have a sign-in count, a last activity, an SAST, a member since, and an organization column. So we've got people at different organizations, and they are busy doing our courses. So guys, this is a real download from our learning platform where people are doing our courses online. Okay, but what we've done is we have jumbled up the names and surnames, as well as we've created fictitious mobile numbers in order to protect people's privacy. There's the POPI Act. We would never want to infringe on that. So what we've done is we've exported the data so that we can use it for this masterclass. All right. So that we can illustrate a whole lot of techniques, which are real life techniques to help us to really understand and interpret our data a whole lot better. Okay. And one of the things that Avi and I do every week, mainly Avi heads this up. It's the tracking of the progress of our students. And this is all done in Excel. And then we send the progress updates on WhatsApp. So we've got a dedicated WhatsApp group for each group that we onboard. And here you can see that we track their progress. So in this particular group at Standard Bank, most of these people are finished. There are 2 people who are still busy. And here we can see the progress across the different courses. And this is great. It's visual. They can see the colors, and management and each student can see straight away who's done what. So it's a great way to track the progress. So what do we do if we download data from our system and it's ugly, plain, boring, unformatted, messy data like this? We need to clean it up. We need to format it. We need to do a whole lot of things to make it look better, more presentable, and more workable. And the very first thing that we're going to do on this data is to put it into what's known as a table in Excel. Okay, so table starts with what letter? Okay, yes, 100%. It starts with a T. So we're going to stand somewhere in our data and we're going to press Control T. All right, so we stand somewhere in our data. We make sure that our cursor is not in no man's land on the side. We stand somewhere on our data and we simply press Control T, and you'll see that it's identified the scope of the table, the range. It's A1 to I14839. My table does indeed have headers. I click OK or press Enter, and this is a game changer. We now have a beautiful table. And as we go through the rest of the session, you're going to see the multiple benefits of working in table mode and all the features of working in table mode, which make our lives so much easier when we are working with data in Excel. Okay, we also have this table design tab up at the top. This is a contextual tab. It disappears if we stand in no man's land outside the table. So as soon as you jump out the table, you lose those features, but you get them back as soon as you jump back in. So it's contextual, and it's only when we're working in this specific context. Okay, what are banded rows? Those are the alternating colors. All right, you can see here that we've got lots and lots of different styles. We might choose this one just to make it a little bit less blue in your face. Okay, and this is quite nice because the headings really pop out at us, okay, with the white bold text and the blue fill. And then we can do banded columns, but I think that's overkill. We can format the last column, but again, maybe overkill in this case. First column, we don't really need that. Total row, that's really useful. We'll show you that in a moment. And also, you can turn your filter buttons on and off using that button. But what do we notice here? When we click the total row, it jumped us to the bottom of the data. And what you notice is that instead of A, B, C, can you see that we've got the actual column headers up there? When we stand outside our table, it's A, B, C. When we stand inside our table, it has almost frozen that top row for us, which is very clever, very intuitive, and it's even got the sort and filter buttons as well up at the top. Okay, so you'll see here next to the word course, next to the header of the course column, we can click on that sort and filter button, and you can see here that we've got Excel 101, 202, 303, as well as Outlook Secrets. That means that there are 4 unique items in this column. There are 4 unique courses in the 14,838 lines of data. There are 4 courses. All right. Progress, if we click on this, you can see there's lots of different progress figures from 0.07 all the way down to 1. All right. We also have the ability to sort smallest to largest, largest to smallest. And then we've got mobile numbers over here, first name, last name. And the brilliant thing about the total row, if we just come back for a moment, you'll notice that total row actually, if we hover our mouse cursor, there's actually a keyboard shortcut for it, which is Control, Shift, and T. And what it does is it puts in an extra row at the bottom of our data, and it gives us, if you have a look here, you can actually see that there is a drop down. Okay, so what it's done is it's calculated a total for the final column, but obviously Excel can't add up, it can't do a sum of a bunch of words and names. So instead, what it's done is it has defaulted to count. So it's counted them up. But what we can do is we can do our own calculations on different columns. So we might want a sum or an average or whatever it is. In this case, in the progress column, it might be useful to actually find out what is the average progress across all these people, across all the courses. Okay, and that figure, that answer is 0.879, meaning it's just under 88%. Okay. What is the average number of times that a person signs in? Okay, it's 11.76. What's the minimum? Okay, we can see the minimum is 0. The max is 3,269. That seems like a lot. That's a bit strange. Okay, and the average number of logins into our platform is 11.76. All right. Okay, so guys, that is the total row. It's very, very useful. You've started to see some of the features of working in table mode. It makes our lives a whole lot easier, and we are big, big believers in tables in Excel. The next thing we want to focus on now for a few moments is formatting these numbers, because you can see that these should be what? Tell me in the chat. What should these be? Okay, what should these be? Okay, Kayla, excellent. Percentages, Michael, percentages. Thank you, Kavi. Okay, Esperanza, you've said you didn't. I didn't get you well on the total. I'm going to ask you that you watch that particular part on the recording because I just don't want to lose track of time. We've got limited time here. We need to be completely wrapped up by 11 o'clock. So I'm going to ask that you watch that particular section on the recording and just recap for yourself how the total row works. All right, guys, in terms of converting these to percentages, how do we do that? We notice that on the home tab, we've got the percentage symbol, the percent button, okay? And there's actually a keyboard shortcut that says Control and Shift and percent. Control, Shift, and percent. So that's the keyboard shortcut that we can use. And there we go. Has that converted our whole column into percentages? No, it hasn't. It's only done non-dumiso. Okay, only done non-dumiso because that's where I was standing. So guys, that's where I was standing. If I want to do the entire column, I need to select the entire column. And I can do that either using the mouse. And you can see there when I click with the mouse on the progress column, it selects all the data, not including the actual total row. If, by the way, I select a column up here where I'm not in the table, it goes all the way to the bottom to over 1 million rows. So that's overkill. Okay, what I can do is I can press Control Spacebar. Avi preempted that. He's put it into the chat. Control and Spacebar. It's where the aliens go to have a drink after a long day. They go to the spacebar. Okay, so Control Spacebar. We can press it again to practice and also to benefit from then including the total row because that must also be formatted as a percent. And then we can use that keyboard shortcut Control, Shift, and the number 5. Okay. We might also want a decimal place or two, so we can insert or take out decimal places using these two buttons over here. Okay, so now we can see it's looking much better. They formatted well, and we can practice again the Control Spacebar on the last activity column. Who's going to tell me in the chat? Who's going to tell me in the chat? What are these figures here? What should these be formatted as? Last activity, tell me in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. There we go. Thank you, Kavi. Those are dates, and the good news is there is a keyboard shortcut to convert ordinary numbers into date format, and we use Control-Shift-3 or Control-Shift-#. Control-Shift-#, Abby will put that into the chat, Control-Shift-#. Let's practice that again. We'll go to the member since column, we'll press Control-Spacebar, and we'll press Control-Shift-3. Now, guys, those numbers, if I press Control-Z, the 43,000s, 44,000s, 45,000s, that's your little indicator to you that those are dates, because what Excel does is it starts counting the Excel calendar from when? What is number 1? When is day 1 in Excel's calendar? Well, we can find out if we press Control-Shift-3 and then we change one of these. Patricia, let's pretend we started on day 1. If we put in a number 1, you can see that's the 1st of January 1900. Okay, 1st of January 1900. That is Excel's day 1 in Excel's calendar. All right. Okay, guys. So we've now formatted the dates. We formatted the percentages. We want to format this column. Any idea what SAST is? What is SAST? Okay, what is SAST? What does that indicate? What kind of format? What kind of number should that be? Times. Well done. Well done, Kayla. Well done, Kavi. Well done, Chloe. Okay, so we're going to press Control Spacebar again. You should be getting the hang of this. And we're going to press Control-Shift-2. And if we have a look back at our cheat sheet, you'll see that all of these are, in fact, on your cheat sheet here. Control-Shift and 2 for time, 3 for date, 5 for percentage, 4 for currency because it's got a little dollar symbol, 1 for number, and squiggle for general. So these keys on the keyboard are all conveniently next to each other. Squiggle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So use those. Thank you, Avi, for posting them all into the chat. And those are the keyboard shortcuts for number formats. Speaking of number formats, mobile numbers can be very frustrating to work with when the 0 drops away. How many of you agree? Let's see a thumbs up. Click on a reaction if you agree, if you've ever had a frustration with a mobile number in Excel. Let's see those. There we go. There are the thumbs up. I see them floating around, floating, thumbs up. Excellent. That means that it is a universal issue for a lot of people. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to stand there and press Control Spacebar once again. We're then going to press Control-1. Okay, Control-1 is also on your cheat sheet. That opens up the Format Cells dialog box up on our screen in front of us. So Control-1, Could have also right-clicked and said format cells, but we're keyboard people, aren't we? Okay. Now, guys, navigating around these dialog boxes is a useful thing to know how to do using just the keyboard. All right. So you will see here that we're on the number tab. We've got the word number circled here or selected with the dots around it. That means we're on the number tab. We can press tab to jump into here, and then we can go down, 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 or just press end to go to custom. And then we can press tab to go into this custom number format box where we can type. You can see this is a weird looking number format for rands, South African rands, with 2 decimal places and 1,000 separators. This is definitely not what we need for right now. What we need for right now is 3 zeros, and then we can put a dash, and another 3 zeros, a dash, and then 4 zeros. Okay, so what have we got? We've got a number format which looks good. Okay, we got 048-409. Okay, so there in the sample, it's looking good. Okay, so the zeros denote a digit. So each zero symbolizes a single digit. And the fact that we put in zeros mean we've put in 10 zeros. That means if the number includes only 9 zeros, it will put a 0 at the front. We click OK, and there you have it. The reason, in case you're wondering, why does the 0 fall away to begin with? That's because Excel sees it as a waste of time, a waste of space, sees it as an insignificant 0 because it doesn't realize that it is, in fact, a mobile number. Interestingly, fun fact, yesterday when we ran the Google Sheets session for a client, we saw that when we went in Google Sheets to do the same thing, it actually preempted it. So it pre-populated it with those zeros and the dashes. So Google Sheets was a little bit smarter, maybe because it's just more insightful and it's got that better artificial intelligence to pick up what's going on, and then maybe saw the heading over their mobile number. Okay, we don't want to get sidetracked with Google Sheets because this is an Excel session, but it doesn't have to be either or. We believe in being ambidextrous and being able to use Excel and Google Sheets. Okay, I myself, we run a business, Avi and I run a business focusing on Excel training. It's called Excel Academy, but we ourselves use Google Sheets for certain things, especially when we need to collaborate in real time with colleagues or family members. It's nice to have a central Google Sheet. And the nice thing is when you start to master Excel, you'll naturally become more proficient in Google Sheets. So it's really not an either or. All right, I see a comment here from Michael about a +1. You can do the exact same thing if you press Control Spacebar and Control 1. Instead of a 0, for example, you can put in a +27 or a +1 for America or whatever that country code is. So you can customize it, and there we go. Now we've got +27, but you'll see the actual number in the formula bar is still that original number over there without the 0 or the +27. Okay, guys, something that might be annoying you a little bit is the width of the columns. You can see that the stuff is spilling over. Some of it's getting cut off. I can widen one specific column by double-clicking in between 2 columns, or I can actually do them all by selecting everything and then double-clicking to auto-fit the column widths. All right. Okay, guys, we've made fantastic progress. We did promise you some AI functionalities. What we're going to do now is we're going to show you an amazing technique to quickly and efficiently turn your first name column and your last name column into a full name column. We want to join together Sonia and Smith, and as well as all of the other first names and last names. How do we do this? Who can tell me in the chat what technique can we use in Excel to join together first name and last name? All right, Kavi, I think you deserve extra points. Some of you have been really, really interactive, and Kavi, you are one of them, so thank you so much. When we do in-person sessions, we throw sweets or chocolates. So we wish we could throw you some sweets or chocolates through the computer. Okay, so concatenate, that's a great idea. We can use the concatenate function. We can say equals CON. All right, we always start a formula or a function with the equal sign. We can say equals CON, and then you'll see the first one is concat. Okay, so there is the word concatenate, and there's also concat, which is just an abbreviation of that ridiculously long word, concatenate. All right, and what it does is it joins together different text strings. We're going to press tab, and that activates the function. We're now inside the brackets. We've got these prompts over here. We need to specify which text we want to concatenate together. So it is, in fact, these two cells. So we can actually select these two cells over here. The only problem with that is that when we press enter, what you can see is that it sticks them together with no gap. Okay, so I'm going to undo that. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to start again and say equals CON. Then I press tab, and now I want to put Sonia, which is the first name. Okay, by the way, because we're in table mode, you can see that reference of that blue cell is not A2, it's first name. So it gives it an actual named reference, which makes our lives easier. I need to press comma. There's a chance that on your version of Excel, you need to press semicolon, but you can change that in your settings. We're not going to cover that for now because we're running out of time. What I want to do is I want to put in a space. I want to manufacture a space between first name and last name. So I put a quotation mark. That's not two apostrophes. That's the shift quotation mark or inverted commas, then a space, and then quotation marks again. Then I put another comma, and then I click on submit. Okay, and I close the brackets, and there we go. Now, I've got autocorrect options, and what I can do is, it should have actually done it by default. I'm not sure why it didn't do it by default. Maybe it did for you, but I'm going to say overwrite all cells in this particular column, and that's brilliant. It's done it all the way down, and happy days. We have done it successfully. Okay, I'm going to press Control Spacebar, and I'm going to press Delete. I'm going to delete all of our hard work. If you want to know how to do that, you can watch the recording and see again exactly the steps that we took there to build that. But what I want to show you is how intelligent Excel is. Okay, so I'm going to start typing Sonia Smith. Then I'm going to start typing Nokwazi. And what you see over here is it actually has preempted the entire column. Excel's artificial intelligence has identified the pattern. It's looked, it's noticed what the pattern is, and we just simply press enter, and it populates the entire column according to that particular pattern. All right, guys, this is a relatively new feature within Excel. It's called Flash Fill. It's found on the Data tab. There it is. There is a keyboard shortcut for it, Control and E. You will find that keyboard shortcut right over there, Control E, Flash Fill on your cheat sheet, and it is very, very cool indeed. I'm going to press Control Z, and you'll see that it's now got Sonia and Nokwazi. And then I can just stand beneath Nokwazi, and I can press Control E, and it automatically populates the entire column. I'm going to press Control S, and I want to shift gears here because I want to show you, you might have been wondering, how in the world did we do this really nice green, orange, yellow, red, all these colors depending on the value? And it's a visual way to show people who's doing well and who's lagging a bit behind. Okay, so this is a way, well, there is a way in Excel, a feature which can let us do this. Any idea what that feature is? I'll give you a clue. It's on the home tab. I want to see if Christelle or Kavi or Michael or anyone else in the audience knows what feature I'm talking about. What feature am I talking about to highlight all these different values in different colors depending on their value? Aha, Michael, conditional formatting, you are spot on. I'm going to use Control Spacebar, which we have seen multiple times to select the entire column. And then I'm going to go to conditional formatting. And you see the fourth option on the list is color scales. And I'm going to click on the first one. And there we go. That is infinitely more efficient and accurate than going and doing that manually, painting things in green and orange and yellow and red. All right. And it's dynamic because have a look here. If Nokwazi actually was on 100, okay, look at that. It updates dynamically. Okay, so that is brilliant. That's just a taste of conditional formatting. We deep dive more into that in our Excel 202 course. And in Excel 202, we also deep dive into pivot tables. But what I want to show you just in the last couple of minutes is that we can actually insert a pivot table, or we can get Excel to recommend for us what type of pivot tables we should use. And what exactly is a pivot table? It is a way to summarize and visualize a large, complex set of data. So it says there, easily arrange and summarize complex data in a pivot table. And it says, FYI, you can double click a value. Okay, leave that for now. Okay, Jillian says, this is like a whole new world. I'm so glad to hear that. Okay, and wait till you see these pivot tables. So the reason for a pivot table is that sometimes the data is too overwhelming. All right. Sometimes we just need a simple summary, okay, a little summary table or chart just to show us visually what's actually going on so that we can make better decisions. And that's what it's all about. So for us, for me and Avi, we might want to know what is the average progress for people on 101, and does that differ to 202, and does it differ to 303? And what about our Outlook course? What does the progress look like on each course? So what we could do is we could navigate to the bottom here and see that it's 87.9 overall. And then we can filter the data for just Excel 101, for example, and it's 88.8. And we can filter for just 202. And then we see it's 86.7. But it's a bit of a manual process, and we would love to see it in one picture. Okay, we'd love to see it all in one picture, and we can use a pivot table to do exactly that. Just before we get there, notice these blue numbers down the left-hand side, and that's because the data has been filtered. All right, and I also see a little funnel over there, and I can clear the filter from course. Okay, and I notice that I've also put the clear filter button on my quick access toolbar. So what we want to do is we can insert a pivot table, but in order to save time and just to show you the immense power of AI, we can say recommended pivot tables. And what you see is it's busy thinking, populating, generating recommendations, thinking, processing. We give it a few seconds, and it's going to come up with some possibilities for us for a pivot table. Michael, I'm glad that you've moved from V100 to V101. Okay, let's wait patiently for these pivot tables. Should be pretty soon. Aha, there we go. All right, guys. So average of progress by course. How amazing that that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to know, and we wanted to see what is the average progress for people on 101 versus 202 versus 303. And that's the first option that it's actually given us. So we're happy with that. We double click. What it does is it opens up a brand new sheet tab. I'm going to zoom in so it's a lot bigger for all of us to see. And you can see that it's called sheet 2. I can call it pivot. And you'll notice here that there's the progress for 101, 202, 303, and Outlook secrets, as well as the grand total. We've got our pivot table fields over on the right-hand side. You can see course in the rows area and progress, average of progress over there. And the fields disappear. Are we going to put our hand up, call IT, log a call? Okay, definitely not. Our pivot table is not broken. It just means that we need to stand in the pivot table. Okay, we also get these different features on the contextual tab. And what we want to do just to make this look a lot neater is, once again, we can format as percentages, and we can use that shortcut Control-Shift%, can increase the decimals. And there we go. There is a really nice summary pivot table. And with 1 or 2 clicks, we can actually insert a pivot chart. You can see here, if we just click on pivot chart, we can click OK. And there's a pivot chart showing us visually what's going on. And if you attend our Excel 202 course, you'll see that we, again, deep dive into pivot tables. There is so much more that is so exciting and so powerful within pivot tables and pivot charts. We create dashboards, and it really is incredibly powerful what you can do, and very, very exciting. But that's where we're going to cut it for today.